question that the Supreme Court granted cert on was whether the 16th Amendment authorizes Congress to tax unrealized sums without apportionment among the states. So that's a lot to unpack, especially if you're not a tax lawyer. So I'm going to slow down and kind of break this up into different parts. And let's start with what's allowed under the Constitution. What can Congress tax? In Article 1, Clause 8 and Clause 9, that is Congress's original taxing power. And those powers are broken up into the power to tax direct, to impose direct taxes and to impose indirect taxes. And Clause 8 of Article 1 says that Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, but they should all be uniform throughout the United States. So those are what are considered indirect taxes, and as long as they are uniformly applied, Congress has the authority under the Constitution to impose tax. Under Article 1, Section 9, this talks about what are direct taxes, and there's a question of what direct tax really means, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But essentially, if you have something that qualifies as a direct tax, then Congress cannot tax it unless it is apportioned among the states. And the Supreme Court does a good job of giving an example of what apportion means, which is essentially every state has to pay an equal amount. So if you have a state with 100 houses and a state with 10 houses, well, the state with 100 houses, those folks are going to be paying a lot less per house than the state with 10 houses, because it all has to be equal in the end. It has to be apportioned equally. We don't have a lot of those or any of those, as the Supreme Court reminds us in its opinion, because they're so hard to apply and they're politically unpalatable, in the court's words. So if you have a direct tax and it's not apportioned, it will be struck down as unconstitutional. Then on the other side of your screen, on the right side, we have the 16th Amendment. The 16th Amendment allows Congress to impose an income tax without apportionment. And the key language here is taxes on income from whatever source derived. And that word derived is going to be really important to this case. We can go to the next slide. Now, what does derived mean? Derived, some people say it really doesn't mean that much. And some people say it embodies this concept of what's called realization, that you cannot tax income Congress cannot tax income without apportionment unless that income has been quote unquote realized, or in other words, derived. So this concept of realization comes from the text of the 16th Amendment itself that were derived, and then an old case called Eisner v. Macomber, in which there was arguably dicta, but the U.S. Supreme Court said that income needs to be realized before it can be taxed under the 16th Amendment without apportionment.